Hello and welcome to the Delta F1 podcast, your pit stop to all things F1 and more. Today we're going to be reacting to the Saudi Arabian GP. Just wrapped up, and what are your initial thoughts?
Uneventful, unfortunately. Uneventful. I mean, aside from the Oliver Behrman story, the Stroll crash, the yellow flag. I mean, that was pretty much the excitement of it, and also, watching Kevin Magnussen essentially be a wall for Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah,
Midway through the race was just that was pretty much it. I mean, Max ran away with it as we kind of predicted, but it is what it is. Ended up with a Red Bull 1-2 again, two weeks in a row. Max, only driver to win 9 races consecutively, twice. So I
yeah,
think this was his 100th podium, I believe, too, which
okay,
is kind of crazy, And then also, interesting fact: for the first time since the year 2000, 4 British drivers finishing in the top 10.
oh
And it's kind
yeah,
of funny how they finished all in one order, back to back
yeah,
to back to back.
6th, 7th,
But
8th, 9th.
yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, it was it's definitely. I like watching the race because of the track itself, but yeah, it was relatively uneventful. I mean, the biggest battle was that train for 12th place, where
Yeah,
Albon did eventually get around uh, Magnussen and to take 11th. But yeah, I mean, he did a great duty for Hulkenberg. And really, I mean, if you were watching the onboard, he was in the corners where it's like essentially impossible to pass. He would just
mm-hmm.
so lightly on the throttle, just nursing the car around the track to build up that pit stop window for Hulkenberg. So props to Magnussen and props to Hulkenberg for being in the position. And that, of course, he was in that position due to the fact that Lance Stroll tapped the barrier and went out of the race early. But
Did you see
yeah,
the audio of the engineer asking
oh
him if
my
he can bring
gosh,
it
yeah.
back?
He goes, "Yeah, you're able to bring the car." It's like, "No, I'm in the wall."
I'm
So, oh,
effing in the
sorry.
wall.
Yeah, I'm in the
I
effing
mean,
wall. Yeah.
that's funny. Lance was just pissed.
Oh yeah, he was like, "What? What kind of question is that?" Yeah, I think the GPS was not up to date in that moment, but yeah, that was actually pretty funny. I laughed. But
Yeah, I
yeah, it looks
imagine.
he just got greedy on corner entry, nicked the wall, and yeah, got sent into the shadow realm, sent into the barriers. So, but like you said, relatively uneventful. It had some cool storylines. Oliver Behrman, I think, did an amazing job finishing P7
Mm-hmm.
in his first Formula One race. It seemed like he managed it really well, and even after the race, just went straight into the whole, oh, we should have,
Debrief.
yeah, he was like, yeah, I could have stayed out on the softs longer, da 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 da. So yeah, I can't wait until we actually get to see him in an F1 car, um, sometime in the future. I think he did phenomenal.
Well deserved driver of the day, that's for sure. I think what is
Hmm.
it? 48% of the votes. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was well over 40%, nearly 50% of votes for driver of the day. Like I mentioned in the last episode, like if he did anything, I was pretty sure he was going to get driver of the day, and he did. He did great. Fought back out of 11th place to get a solid result.
Kind of crazy. I know we talked about it kind of over the phone yesterday, but Carlos Sainz made it back. He had surgery and came back. Like that's how you
Hmm.
know quickly the surgery can be. So if he would have had that surgery, on a Monday, on race week, like I think he more than likely would have been able to be back by Sunday or Saturday to race.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
kind of everything happens for a reason. So he was able to support his team. Did you see the photo that he posted with him on the hospital bed with his dad?
Yeah.
Recreating the photo with his dad or from his dad when he had, I guess, appendix surgery. I was like, that's just kind of funny how it works.
Hmm. Yeah. No, definitely a bummer that. I mean, I'm sure he was sitting on the sidelines, itching to get out there. missing valuable points. But like you said, everything happens for a reason. It gave I think, a deserving rookie, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
a opportunity to kind of show what he's capable of.
Yeah, no, good for him. He did a good
Yeah,
job, and I think Ferrari's in good hands. Do you think he'll ever get a shot with another team? So I mean, obviously
yeah,
Leclerc and Hamilton for next year are already settled.
yeah. But it's possible. I mean, we've seen Haas host some Ferrari Academy drivers with Mick Schumacher in the past. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, I think it's very possible he could go on loan to someone. Ferrari may let him go to a different team for a little bit. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I certainly hope. We talked about it in one of our very first episodes, when we were doing like the preseason predictions, and I was just saying, it's no disrespect to Hulkenberg or Magnussen, but you know, I'm not mega excited to see them on the grid again. I'd love to see.
Oh yeah.
There's some great rookies out there, or rookies, or I mean, not rookies, but young drivers that would inevitably be rookies, out there
Hmm.
that would be amazing options.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it's different next year, especially with
Hmm.
12, 13 drivers being this last season on contract. So you never know. Might be a
Yeah,
big shape up next year.
yeah,
Next
it could be a
different drivers,
big
different
shakeup.
seats.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the how our predictions played out. I
Yeah,
think
so
we got some wrong, but obviously the podium. What were your podium predictions?
I said Max, Leclerc, Norris.
Max Leclerc, Norris. Yeah,
Mm.
I actually got it. I had Max Checo Leclerc, so I got that one.
Yeah,
But
you're
like I said,
dead right.
I felt Checo would. Checo's doing, like I said, I know Yuki Tsunoda and Ricardo are quote unquote fighting for a Red Bull seat, but Checo's first two races has been, he's not too far off of Max. I mean, on paper he was 13 seconds off with the 5 second penalty, but that's what Red Bull want. In case anything ever happens to Max, Checo is right there to take the win for Red Bull. So first two races he's been doing a good job, I think. So I don't see how he gets beat out. It doesn't renew at least another year for Red Bull if that's the route they decide to take.
Well, yeah, it's going to be the test of time because we've seen him start super strong and then fade off.
Right,
Um,
that's true.
so every season he starts off very strong and then seems to kind of fade away, and get further and further from Max. So we'll see. Yeah, no, Norris. I don't know if it was a risky strategy, but they stayed out during the safety car,
Hmm.
and then of course my kind of prediction, like the reason I put Checo off of the podium for me was because I said he was going to cause a safety car for reliability or something maybe,
Right.
but obviously that didn't happen.
Hmm.
It was Stroll. He took a stroll into the shadow realm, and and um, yeah, and then fastest lap was our next prediction. I had predicted George Russell, so I was half right. Oh no, I wasn't. Never mind. I completely wrong.
Yeah, no, I was wrong too. I thought I was gonna be Checo, but Leclerc ended up
Hmm.
doing it on the last lap. You said Hamilton had it
Yeah.
for the majority of the race, but Leclerc
Hmm.
just ended up getting the fast lap on the last lap, which
Yeah. No, I literally didn't even realize. I thought Hamilton had it up until like 5 minutes ago when we were just talking about it. And you were like,
mhm,
"No, I think it was Leclerc," and I was like, "No, it was Hamilton." And no, Leclerc literally got it on lap 50.
that was
So
crazy.
yeah, good on him. And then we kind of discussed team battles and what that looked like going into the weekend. Did you see anything amongst teammates that was notable?
I mean, aside from Max and Checo finishing back to back, 1-2. I thought McLaren and Aston Martin would have kind of a battle between both of them this race, but
Yeah,
obviously Stroll retiring early with his crash that didn't pan out, and then McLaren with Piastri and Norris kind of being on different plans, that
yeah, they ended
didn't
up
really
on
pan out
completely
either.
different strategies.
So it's just like I was dead wrong on that. What were your predictions on that?
Well, my biggest prediction was the Visa Cash App Red Bull
Mm.
Racing Bulls. I thought that was going to be a very spicy battle between the two, but they did finish close to each other. Ricardo 16th, Yuki 14th. But I don't know, they just didn't do a great job. And Ricardo was separated pretty consistently by
Oh yeah.
cars to Yuki. Like Yuki was at the not the sharper end, I would say, but he was definitely towards the front of that train, putting a lot of pressure on Magnussen for a while
Hmm.
until he I can't remember if he what exactly happened. I think he got kind of ran off the track, and
With Magnuson, wasn't it? That's what caused him
mhm,
to
and
get
then
the
a couple
penalty
cars were
too.
able. Yeah, then a couple cars were able to. No, Magnussen got the penalty when Magnussen went off track and passed him.
Oh, gotcha,
But
gotcha.
Magnussen passed him and then went off track
Hmm.
and then got a 10-second penalty. It was like pretty brutal. That was the 10-second penalty being used more is definitely brutal. Definitely brutal.
Well, no, I saw the post race interview and the tech talk guys from F1 were talking, and that was like the most common penalty is 5 seconds, like
Hmm.
in years past, years prior, and the fact that they did the 10 seconds twice for him, when both penalties are more usually 5 seconds, was kind of unheard of. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they've bumped up the penalties this year or whatnot, but they were
They
not playing
have.
around with Magnussen today.
Yeah, no, they're definitely they are getting into these 10-second penalties more because what we would see happen for quite some time is that if you pass a driver off track, you would get a 5-second penalty.
Hmm.
Um, but drivers were starting to complain about it because it wasn't a big enough
Yeah.
penalty.
Hmm.
Because if I'm if I'm like half a second a lap faster than you, we have 20 laps to go, say, right, and and I don't really have enough to pass you straight up, just pass you off track, and then hopefully be able to pull out 5 seconds. And if not, it's kind of a gamble. And so Russell was complaining about the about that last year, and then he passed. I think it was Piastri actually deliberately off track, and because he knew he would just get a 5-second penalty. And after complaining about it, and then now they're cracking down, and if you pass off track, it's a 10-second penalty. So the first time
Hmm.
that got exercised was actually in one of the F3 races. Um, but yeah, now they're really cracking down on it. So um, yeah, but it was nuts to see Magnussen get two 10-second penalties.
Two. Yeah, that's crazy. But he took it for a benefit and helped his teammate get at least a point. You know what I mean? So that's good for him. That's good for
Yeah.
Haas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just 1 point, but every point when your Haas is worth a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think he did a good job. As far as the next prediction, I think we was just kind of like crazy predictions, and I know you didn't really consider it a crazy prediction, but my prediction for that segment was Ollie would finish top eight. He finished
And he
seventh,
did.
so
Yeah.
that was good. I don't what was your comment on that?
Mine was I think the Checo retirement, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I said that Checo would have a retirement. That was my crazy prediction.
Yeah.
But no, I had a lot of faith in Behrman coming into it. Maybe a little too much to a degree,
Hmm.
but I had a lot of faith in him, and he definitely delivered. Not the top five that I was saying was very much on the table, but still
Right.
phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he did a great job for seventh place. He could have. And then he defended pretty good. I mean, as far as like keeping that gap, but also
Hmm.
Lewis fighting with Norris. Obviously, that hindered him a little bit too to
Yeah.
catching up with Behrman. But overall, he did a great job, and I think he mentioned after the post race that he felt that he was quick enough or quicker than both Russell and Alonso. But obviously, the gap was too big at that point to really
Yeah.
get close enough to even compete for that spot. But
Right.
props for him for finishing seventh. Our
Mm-hmm.
next segment was the race winning margin. I believe, didn't you say yours was like 18 or 20 seconds or something?
I said 18 and a half, which if my crazy prediction was right and Checo retired, I would have been dead on because it was 18.6 seconds to Leclerc,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I ended up being wrong.
Yeah, mine was between 5 and 10 seconds, and before the 5 second penalty that Checo
Yeah, you
endured
were dead on.
from the late release, um, I would have been right. But it is what it is. I think on pay. I mean, like I said, in race aside from the penalty,
Mm-hmm.
I think under 10 second gap. I think that's a great. I think that's obviously closer than last week's race, but
Yeah.
I'd want to see the gap a little bit closer to just for excitement purposes as an F1 fan, obviously.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when Max is winning by a pit stop window, it's ridiculous. It's
Mm-hmm.
he has such a margin. And credit to him that he still pushes. He doesn't get complacent up there. So credit to him. I'm surprised he didn't go for like the fastest lap or something. But yeah, I think again, like you said, if Checo's close, if he's within 10 seconds, I think that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy to say.
I
If he's
know.
within 10 seconds of his teammate, that's a win. But yeah, I think if he can continue that through the season, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm rooting for him.
Hmm.
Next one was essentially surprise performances, any highlight drivers, anything like that that would exceed expectations or, make a significant impact or just crazy performances. I think for me, I had wrote down that Lewis kind of has like a down race. I mean, he finished ninth. He was kind of on
Yeah,
the same strategy as Lando as far as hoping for a second yellow, but obviously never came. So that kind of hindered him a little bit. But he was close to passing McLaren, but
yeah,
and passing Norris, but it just didn't happen. Kind of an unfortunate race for Lewis Hamilton this weekend.
yeah. It definitely was a tough race for Hamilton. I was hoping that he would be able to fight up through the grid a bit, but he kind of just ended up staying there, kind of towards the tail end of the points.
Mm-hmm. What was yours? Well,
I
go
don't.
ahead.
What did I say? What did I say yesterday? Because I do not remember what I said.
I don't know. I think you might have said something with Visa Cash App, maybe.
Yeah, I did predict that someone would get into points. I remember saying that one of the teams that was on the fringes of points would get into the points, which
Mm-hmm.
Haas got into the points. But I was thinking, one of the Yuki Tsunoda or Daniel Ricciardo would be able to, which we know they did not.
Yeah, they had a terrible race.
Yeah,
And then, I
Daniel
mean,
did
Haas
that
in
like kind
general,
of
they
lazy
were,
spin.
yeah. But Ricardo, I don't know what he was doing. And then Yuki was just kind of underwhelming too.
Hmm.
But Haas had really good top speed today. I
Yeah, they
mean,
were fast.
I think Alex Albon was talking about it after the race. Williams, like last year, they had good top speed in the
Yeah, he
straights,
said they
but
turned into a bit of a Williams.
yeah, which was just like
Hmm.
it's kind of surprising, but they showed up. They showed up.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Next one was safety car predictions and whatnot. I think you and I both predicted at least one. I said
Yeah.
two, which
Hmm.
didn't happen, but first actual safety car and first retiree from the 2024 season too with Lance
Hmm.
Stroll. So I mean, obviously that did add a little bit of spice to the race early on. When was a yellow flag? Was like lap 10 or 8 or
It was
9 or
very
something.
early on. Yeah, it was within the first like 10 laps.
I know we were talking about how everyone except Bottas did only one pit stop, and obviously the yellow flag had something
Hmm.
to do with that. With the long stints and everything like that. So
Yeah, I was pretty surprised actually to see everyone
that
pretty
early,
much come in for hards. Yeah, it was only Norris, Hamilton, and Zhou Guan Yu, and
I
maybe
think that was
someone
it.
else. I forget. I think that was it. Those were like the only people that stayed out. I was very surprised. Um, and the drivers that stayed out, you could see the clear disadvantage that they were at. I mean, they were getting caught up pretty quick.
If it wasn't for the yellow flag, probably Max would have had as his second Grand Slam in a row. Because
Oh
obviously they
yeah,
didn't lead every lap with Lando
right.
leading but I
Hmm.
mean Max caught up to him within 3 or 4 laps, and passed him.
Yeah, yeah. Norris did a great job in the initial stages keeping him back, but just every lap the medium started getting worse and the hard just started getting better, and then
Hmm.
yeah, then eventually Max breezed by him. One thing I was surprised though, while we're talking about Norris and the McLarens in general, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but that McLaren with DRS open is nothing
Yeah,
happens.
I know.
It
Well, they were
made
trying to.
Piast it had to make Piastri's life so difficult back there behind Hamilton because he would be within a second all lap in the dirty air trying to manage the tires, and he'd click that magical button that's supposed to give him all that extra top speed, and he was just not gaining at all. So that was very surprising to see. And then you would see like Max hit DRS and it would turn into a rocket ship.
Yeah, it was just so different. I wonder why. I don't know just why their DRS isn't as strong. Speaking about McLaren again, what are your thoughts on the non-penalty for Lando on the start? George Russell called it out right away. He did
Yeah.
he did release before the green lights went out, which, if I'm not mistaken, in the regulations it says that they have to be immobile, and he did. But I guess some of the Tech Talk reviews were saying that maybe because he was still within the yellow line, or he fully stopped before he went again, and that's why they kind of did not give him penalty. But I mean, that defeats the regulations because in writing it says you're supposed to be immobile, you're not supposed to move, and technically there's obviously visual movement that he did move. So I don't know. He didn't get a penalty for it, but I don't know how strict they are on that. Obviously, not much.
Yeah, I think it was borderline. Because he did come to a complete stop before the lights actually went out again. So it's not like he was mobile. I feel like it wasn't like he was going and
Hmm.
like was able to roll into it. He came to a complete stop. Um, but he was very far in the pit box initially, so I was surprised because I know they talk about it being like the position of the car. I think there's a sensor. I don't know if there's
There
actually
has
a
to be a
sensor, but I think
sensor.
there is a sensor, and I think it's really like as long as you're not moving, as long as you don't break that, you're probably fine. But yeah, the fact he didn't get a penalty is pretty surprising, um, because he definitely did have movement before, and then there was a while ago when Bottas was still with Mercedes, there was an instance where he got a point zero zero reaction to the lights,
And he got a
and
penalty.
I don't think he did get a penalty that race, but everyone wanted him to because they're like, "There's no way!" Like he predicted it, you know,
Hmm.
like he jumped the start basically, but he jumped it to perfection, you know, and yeah, in this case, I was pretty surprised to see Norris not get a penalty,
Hmm.
but he didn't gain anything though either.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, if anything, it put his start on the back foot a little bit because he did not have a great start. He didn't have a bad
Yeah, he
start,
didn't.
but it's not like he had a phenomenal start. Like came out of the gates super quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's really it like played washes off. Like I said, he didn't really have a major advantage of it. But I guess when you're looking at the technicality of the rules, he should have gotten a penalty. But like I said, in the end, it didn't really matter. But it is what it
Yeah.
is. Obviously, he finished where he finished, and
Hmm.
did not have a good luck strategy at the very end with Hamilton with no yellow flag. So um, it was unfortunate. Our next segment was driver of the day.
Hmm.
Driver of the day, which you were spot on, dude. With Oliver Behrman with 48% of the votes. Well deserved, though. Nobody else deserved
Yeah.
it better than him.
Yeah, no, he did great. He had some good passes. He was racing people, um, caused some excitement, and definitely when I was watching him, some pucker moments of like, oh my god, especially when he was battling with Yuki getting ran over the curb and somehow avoiding contact. And yeah, he did just a great job to climb back up. And like I said, I kind of predicted, with the excitement around him, if he does anything, he would win it. He would win a driver of the day. And I forget, who
Hmm.
did you say the driver of the day was going to be?
I had Charles as the driver of the day. I thought he'd have a more eventful race, but obviously that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
no, his race was as straightforward as it could be, I guess. He held back Perez in the beginning, and then eventually the pace of the Red Bull was able to overtake, and then he did a great job just to control the race, kind of in no man's land. So,
so speaking about, I'm looking at the driver championship standings right now.
mm-hmm.
Behrman is in 10th right now
Yeah.
with 6 points. I was like, dude, that's crazy.
Ferrari has 3 drivers in the top 10. Sainz is still in 6. So,
Six, yeah.
yeah,
And then
solid.
Alonso and Norris are tied for 12. Hamilton all the way down there, 9, dude. Not a good
Mm-hmm.
start to the season for him, honestly, as the last season as a Mercedes driver.
Yeah. Yeah, there he's had better starts.
I just I hope I'm wrong, bro, but I feel like he's just not. I think he's in the way he's making it look. He may just be thinking about 2025, thinking about his new seat in Ferrari, different team than Mercedes. Like, I don't know. I know it's early on in the season, 2 races in, but I mean, George has had good results. You know what I mean? Like he's for what the car is, he's in fourth with 18 points. So I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he can be more competitive. But what are your thoughts on his start so far?
2 races in, so it's hard to draw any massive conclusions. I mean, if he puts the car on the podium once, he's up there with Russell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's shown pace, of course. I mean, it's not like anyone questions Hamilton's pace. And I
Right.
don't know, like, I think the car is maybe just not quite where they want it. It's a brand new concept, so they're still trying to figure it out. And Mercedes has kind of struggled with having a narrow window on all of their cars, anyways.
Right.
So, you got to wonder what's going on. But and we also too we don't know what made him make that call to Ferrari at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he did that for reasons unknown to us, and so maybe he is done. Maybe you're right. Maybe he is completely done. Just eyes on 2025. Which I don't know if it's ever smart to throw away a season necessarily.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. For
think you'd want
sure.
to come in. I think you'd still want to come into Ferrari like beating out George Russell, having a super strong season. I don't think you just want to write off an entire season, which I don't think he will. But yeah, again, I think it's too early to tell. But the first 2 races have not been mega. I mean, he's sit on 8 points, so
One thing I do want to give props for Hamilton is the after the race he waited for Ollie Behrman to get out to congratulate him on his performance in the
yeah,
race. And Lando, you saw the cool down lap. He was like, giving him thumbs up and everything like that. So it's just cool to see, he's getting respect. I mean, can you imagine, getting
yeah,
praise from Lewis, arguably the GOAT of Formula
right,
One, and him actually having the time to sit there and wait for him to congratulate him. I'm
yeah,
sure that means a lot to Oliver.
right. Well, no, and that's actually something to give props on Hamilton in general for. I think Hamilton's usually very supportive of the young drivers. I mean, we've seen him give props to every driver that deserves it at one time or another.
Right.
Even after tense championship battles with Max, he still would go shake his hand or congratulate him. So
Yeah, he's not a sore loser for the most part, which I can respect.
yeah, it's interesting. He's not really a sore loser. Like he's not like petty to the drivers, but he definitely walks away and is like he wears his heart on his sleeve. He lets everyone knows what
Yeah.
he's thinking. So
Yeah. Overall, I think it was obviously a great day for Max and Checo, 1 and 2. I think if you're Behrman, I mean, you go home, he's probably exhausted. He's probably going to be sore for a week, from
Right.
the drastic difference between Formula One and Formula Two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, McLaren and their straight line speed kind of lacking a little bit, even with the DRS.
Yeah.
Obviously frustrated Oscar Piastri. I know we talked about Kevin Magnussen, you know, having the two 10-second penalties, but also in return with that, he ended up helping his team and Nico
Yeah, it was just
Hulkenberg getting a.
Operation keep Hulkenberg in the points.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, just overall pretty disappointing finishes, in my opinion, for Williams. Probably
Yeah,
the piece
Williams
of
and
cash up too.
Visa
I mean,
Cash App.
especially what I don't know, Ricardo. Like you mentioned him spinning towards the end. Like I don't know, and then just Yuki just
Yeah, I don't know.
losing pace.
It's tough to get super cynical, about a spin. It's an easy thing to do, because you could be super cynical about Lance hitting a wall that's been there all weekend again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's tough when you're in the car and you're pushing and the tires are changing, the fuel load's constantly changing, everything's changing, and you've been hitting that curb all weekend, and then you
Yeah.
finally just hit it with the right fuel load. Your tires are in the right window, and
Mm-hmm.
you hit it a little too hard, and all of a sudden you're in a spin. And these cars are super stiff, and that curb was big. It's unforgiving stuff, um, but still, it's a fault, and it's no
Yeah.
one's fault but your own in that situation. So
Well, let's
yeah, a
hope.
little disappointing from them. I was hoping that I don't know if I was hoping, but I was definitely predicting that they would be the car to capitalize if one of the big five teams right now fell out of the points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's surprising that Haas capitalized with that 1 point, but
Yes, very.
it's going to be tough all season. I hope
Yeah,
Ricardo bounces back in a couple weeks in his home country, home race with
yeah. Two
Oscar.
weeks. 2 weeks. We have a weekend free of F1.
Kind of sucks, dude. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't like the gaps, but Australia is like in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? So that
Right.
would, yeah, I get that. What is
Oh,
that?
dude. I don't
It's
know.
like,
There's a bomb in here.
I thought that was a reaction from the video recording or something.
No. But yeah. Yeah, the Australian Grand Prix, 2 weeks away. And then Australia, one of my favorite tracks, actually. I love that track to drive. Like in games, it's one of the most fun tracks in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it a lot too, and it's last year was pretty eventful too, especially
Oh,
towards the
last year
end
was crazy eventful. Yeah.
and how it ended.
Yeah.
Maybe we get round two of that or somewhat similar to it, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. Never been to Australia, but I always want to go. I always wanted
Yeah.
to go. But yeah, overall, that's it for this weekend.
Yeah. That's it for this weekend. Thank you guys for watching and allowing us to chat about the relatively uneventful race that was the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And we will see you in Australia.
Yeah.
All
See
right.
you guys.
See you guys.